What's your name, guy?
They call me Mr. Director.
Cool. So, Mr. Director, what's next?
I think we're gonna record a music video. There's a director, and he wants to shoot us for free.
That's fucking cool.
Seems too good to be true, but could be the break we need.
There'll be no drama. Let's not ruin your big moment.
Yeah, this is it.
Let's explore. Maybe we should go back upstairs. Did you see that?
You guys are so funny and also good looking.
Well, that was fucking weird.
So, why'd you guys stop playing shows?
None of us want to talk about that.
I'm sorry. Did I say something I shouldn't have?
What's going on?
We're leaving. Let's go.
You did the right thing. No one wants to die at the hand of some lunatic in the middle of nowhere.
I love the energy in the room.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth, society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking opinion.
All right, what's happening, everybody? We're back. Back after quite an adventure. Yeah, incredible. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. You asked for it, you got it. Back. Feels like we haven't been doing too many shows lately because there's been so much stuff going on, you know? We were in Vegas and just got married the other day and craziness. Good to see everyone. Ray Hogan, James Hollis, what's up? John Burry, what's going on? In the UK, Jose, good. Brian Matson, good time on Sunday, man. You know, speaking of good times, let's bring our friend Lori Dawn on the show. What's up?
That was a great time on Sunday. Yeah.
It was great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. And thank you. And oh, there he is, Scott Helland. Whoa.
Yes.
Yeah. Where's my Scott Helland? Where's my Scott Helland picture from? Hold on. Let's see. Hold
Yes.
on.
Yes. Scott and his wife just blew the place up right from the get-go. What a set.
Yeah.
Really good.
They kicked it off at the Bowery Electric.
Yeah.
Here's a shot of Frenchie and the Punk doing their
Frenchie
thing.
and the Punk.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
It was great. Yep. And then let me see.
That was one of my highlights. Yeah. Their set was really, really good. Loved it.
It's like standard operating procedure, you know. I gotta have
I had seen him a couple of times, play a couple of times, but I hadn't seen their full act, Frenchie and the Punk.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
It seems like every time they're playing up here, I'm down in New York and vice versa. But I definitely want to catch the two of them.
Yeah, they're great. And yes, Mac Ray, thank you. I'm glad you and Becky made it.
Yep.
Let me see a couple pictures. Here's just a couple doing a little tour of a couple pictures.
Yeah, a lot of people came out.
This is at the jump off, you know. So this was the art director.
Yes.
The art director, Laurie Dawn.
Yes.
Who made
That
the
amazing decoration.
Yes. And yeah, and you know, for those, just a couple, you know,
Everybody came dressed to impress. I was impressed.
everybody came dressed to impress, and we were married on stage
Yeah.
by none other than Vinny Stigma.
Beautiful. Look at how beautiful Rochelle looked. The bride, I have to give the fashion show. The bride wore a ivory leather mini dress, accented with a bullet belt and a black veil. Very in fashion this season.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it was a nice day for a white wedding. Yeah.
You know, they say every bride picks the perfect dress, and it's so true, you know?
Listen, with the fakakta dress, you know how, months and months and months. What do you think of this one? What do you think? I'm like, it's great. Fucking love that dress.
It was beautiful.
Fuck do I know? Here's a great shot.
Yes, of a delicious cake. Where was that cake from?
The cake was from Will and my band got it. I forgot the name of the place, but it was pretty. You know what I thought was kind of great is that we got married in front of the Back to the New York Hardcore Roots series banner.
There you go. Right.
Hard. How hard is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely was like a New York hardcore wedding equipped with vows that were very meaningful.
And you know what? People came out of the woodwork, including these two guys from Nuclear Assault, Danny Lilker and John Connolly.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it was cool.
And shout out to Heather, Danny's wife, who helped me with the decorations.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, she was great. Yeah. We hung those ribbons and bells.
Let me see. I think this could be my favorite my favorite shot of the whole thing. Could be this one.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I like that one.
Look at how happy she is.
Yep.
So nice. Yeah, it was really beautiful.
Yeah. That was great. And
it was a beautiful day too. It was nice, hanging out on the sidewalk with everybody and catching the attention of some tourist buses and stuff. Yeah, that's a beautiful photo too. I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
My gangster suit.
Yeah.
Speaking of everyone out on the sidewalk, here's a couple photos. Like I said, people came out of the woodwork, young, old, everyone in between.
Yeah.
There's Creature from Rebelmatic and just the whole gang.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. It was great.
Beautiful. Yeah. I think everybody enjoyed dressing up. It was just something different,
Yeah, that's what I was hoping. Yeah, it was
cool. It was like it was just something different, and it's like we still had like the music that we all come there for, but we were all dressed up. It gave it like a different vibe, and the DJ sets in between were great. We got to dance.
There you go. There's a crew right there.
That was awesome. Scott's pants.
Great.
Yeah.
Drummer Mike when we did the. When we did the My War thing, I played drums and for a song, and drummer Mike sang.
Yeah,
and we did the Ramones' "I Want to Live." And that was kind of great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
he crushes it. Yeah, fantastic.
Mike was great,
and even Blondie and Joey Ramone were in the house. Look at that.
You know what? With Blondie and Joey Ramone lying there on their bed,
Exactly.
Oh, here's a shot of you and my sister and her.
Oh, yes.
You
fit
and
right into the
you
family.
and my, my. Perhaps you've seen my sister. She's all over TV these days.
See, I
You know?
fit right into the family.
You do.
Cousin Lori.
Yeah. What shows? What
great.
show is that my sister's on these days? The one with John Hamm.
Oh,
Friends and Neighbors.
yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, something like that. Friends and something. Yeah, I got to check it out. I got to check it out
Yeah,
now.
I think it's called Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm.
Right. She was showing me some of
look for my sister on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of her walk-bys, Yeah. Cool with her wine.
Yeah. Let me see. And then
Stuff.
during the My War thing, my wife got up there and busted the Misfits bullet.
Absolutely.
Yep, there you go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
I like this picture. It's got her bouquet sitting on the Fryette amp.
Yeah, right. Like, let me just put down my bouquet and
your friends and neighbors. It's called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, your friends and neighbors.
Yeah, that's the name of the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a great shot.
Yeah. So
it's a great shot.
It was fantastic.
Mimi did an amazing job as well.
Who?
Mimi.
Oh yeah, everybody that came up.
Everybody did. Listen,
we had the SSD control guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was great.
It was Tony.
Fantastic. Tony Winterwolf did
Beat on the Brat.
He was great.
Yeah.
Let me see. I got a couple more. Where's the one?
Yeah. The food was great. The food was perfect.
Yep.
Everybody devoured it, made the cleanup easy.
Yep.
There was only a couple of carrots left.
Like we talked about the food thing after the fact. There's like a saturation point with these kind of things where as much food as you put out, it's going to get eaten. So we put a lot of food out.
Same people over and over again.
Yeah, we put a lot of food out.
Right.
And there's Ryan Bland who did Bad Brains Right Brigade with us. And
killed it.
And there's Mike DeJean.
Yeah.
And me. So
yeah.
Anyway.
So we had that. We had the cake. It was a very traditional, but it was nice.
Yeah. And yes, Julie, you mentioned Springer from SSD. I'm looking for where's my Springer shot?
He got up there.
Yeah. He was great.
Fun.
Davey Hooligan. It was great.
It was good seeing Jamie from SSD and his wife Angie.
I got a chance to play, with two of the guys that got me into this thing.
Yeah. That was really cool to see. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
So the best part was Drew on the dance floor. All right.
Yeah, we really
I'm not afraid to get on the dance floor.
Yeah. We would dance into some, 80s dance music there.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, Davey Hooligan from Enziguri.
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Hey, so
sure.
That said, we got this is coming up. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so this is happening this Saturday in Beverly, Massachusetts at Bridge 9 Records. They're celebrating their 30th anniversary, and with this amazing art show from Chris Robots Will Kill. A lot of you will know his artwork. If you don't, go check him out on Instagram. Really cool stuff. He's doing a special one-day exhibit. All of the pieces were made just for this exhibit. So this is something that you do not want to miss if you are in reach of this. There's also going to be special T-shirts. He worked on this design here and another design, stickers, buttons, everything to celebrate, Bridge 9. So Chris Robots Will Kill and Chris Wren collaborated together on these designs for the shop. So it's going to be a really, really cool day, and there will be cake. So if that wasn't enough, there will be cake.
The cake went over big the other day.
Yeah. But Chris is great. His artwork is amazing. You know, I think a lot of people will recognize it from, like, you know, the robot that he does, and the really cool and relatable sayings that he gives, you know, the meaning that he gives to each painting. Yeah, there's that robot.
There's Larry. There's
out
Larry.
there.
It's really,
Yeah,
it's really
relatable.
yeah.
Bring the
It's
kids
really-
out, take a photo.
Yep. Bridge 9 Records this
Yeah.
Saturday. Really brought to you by Larry Kelly, who put in all the hard work to make this show happen on Saturday.
Yes, yeah, and like they're really, you know, supporting, like, you know, art and stuff like that happening up there. It's a great space, and they're really using it to help support, you know, local artists and crafters and makers, and you know, they've done a lot of really cool events. It's really, really worth supporting that shop there and what Chris has built.
Absolutely. And then the Vinny Stigma, Eugene Hutz,
Yep.
you know, mini tours going out with Larry Kelly.
Yes,
I think that's next weekend, right?
Yeah, I think he leaves that, like, just that night. He leaves right from there to go.
That's
So
right.
yeah.
That's right. So all right.
It's gonna be really, really cool. So I hope to see some
Anything
people
else
there.
you need to- anybody you want to thank? Anybody you want to shout out?
So I don't know. So, well, I mean, I just, you know, cheers to the bride and groom. It was fantastic, and thank you for sharing your special day with all of us. You know,
It was great.
I know. When can we dress up again? And you know,
I was always intrigued with
fantastic.
when Sly Stone got married on stage at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to do something like that. And I'm like, you know what? I want to get married at the Sunday free all ages matinee on the Bowery.
Yeah. You know, the unpredictability of it, you know, like you never know who's going to show up and what it's going to be, but it was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
was great. It was great.
Yeah.
I'm very, 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 very fortunate, lucky. I'm grateful. So many great people in my life, and we just do have so much fun. And I don't take it for granted. So thanks a lot, everybody that was a part of it.
Yes, absolutely. It was great.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Have a great show, everyone.
That's right. Lori Dawn, ladies and gentlemen. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records. Hold on. I got to get this one straight. Candle Witch Company, Mad Vintage, and 126 Hardcore Clothing. They're a streetwear brand for restless individuals who don't compromise. They're about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives while retaining the hardcore attitude. Get in touch with them and ramp up your game at www.126clothing.com. That said, let's clear the deck and let's bring our guest on the show. On the show, yo. Let's welcome back to the show an American writer, director, musician, and artist manager hailing from Westchester County, New York. As a musician, he's known for his work with the bands Blindside and Scarhead. As a writer, he's the co-author of Columbo, The Unsolved Murder. Here today to talk to us about his new film, Director's Cut. Please welcome, coming at us from White Plains, New York, Mr. Don Capria. Hey, man.
Hey, man. How you doing? Congratulations.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, big day, huh?
It was a circus. It was a lot of fun. You know, we had Vinny Stigma marry us, you know.
I mean, that alone, man, you know, that's pretty magnificent.
It was just great. You know, it was a circus, and it's everything we hoped it would be. It was a lot of fun, man. And
I like the circus. Circus is fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. And speaking of circuses, I guess you've been out there on the circuit with the new film, huh?
Yeah, we did some cool stuff. I guess most recently we were invited out to Rutherford, New Jersey. They had Paisan Con.
I saw that.
Yeah, which was a fun experience. I had done Sopranos and Mob Movie Con prior, and it felt like the same kind of energy was going to happen. So was really interested to do it. Plus, we got to play the film on the Friday night, and we played for a pretty packed crowd. It was good. It was really well received, and got to mingle with a lot of folks. And Louie Lombardi came out from California, which I'm sorry he couldn't make it today. I guess he double booked something.
It
Who played
happens.
Mr. Director in the film. And then I'm trying to think in recent beyond that, we haven't really hit anything, you know. So the film is in its stages of releases. For anybody that didn't know, we came out in theaters in October of last year, and then March 18th this year hit streaming, and now we're waiting for our we hit VOD. Yeah, so there's there's all these different things I'm learning about as we go. You know, you have your theater release, and then you have your digital release, which is video on demand, and then next would be your proper streamer release, and that's on your subscription-based platforms like a Netflix or a Hulu or a Peacock or Amazon or a Shudder. So that's the next step for us.
For the uninitiated, now I went through this thing, you know, when we released the Ilago film. VOD, known as video on demand, is in order to qualify for video on demand, don't you have to have some sort of a theatrical release?
I don't know. I mean, we were without a distributor when we had our theatrical release. We had like a really kind of crazy path. You know, it was just unorthodox the way that we went about everything. So we got into movie theaters without a distributor, and that happened by way of Brett Marks, one of the producers on the film, who worked in exhibition, and he had relationships with some of the theater groups, small and big, and he got the attention of Regal. The next thing you know, we're in Knoxville, and they're like, all right, we're going to put this thing in like 50 to 100 theaters. So when we had the theater deal, that was when we locked in the deal with Byron Allen's company, Freestyle, for our streaming and digital and everything that happened after the theater release. So we didn't have the question. So I don't know what the prereq is on the VOD, but I know that it goes into a lot of places. Like, you know, you can rent, you can rent this in a hotel room. Like you can rent it on the Dish Network. You can get it in all these different places. Actually, every place in the United States that you can rent a film, including they made DVD. You know?
Oh, let me see that. Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. Let's see the back.
Let's see the back.
Wow.
Look at that cute.
That's fantastic.
There's Tyler Ivey with his shirt off. Ooh.
There you go.
There's Lou Lombardi looking like a menacing creep. And there is Danielle Koch staring at the camera. And then I believe we got Brandy. We've got Haley Cassidy and Tyler at the top. Rock and roll.
Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, how it came together and you know, bring us up to speed and set the groundwork for, you know, how did Director's Cut become a reality? You know, get us onto the launch pad.
Yeah, the evolution, you know, you know my history. I played drums in a band, and then I was managing bands, and always really interested in shooting music videos and directing, and I wanted to get into scripted. So I had done some short films prior, shot a bunch of TV pilots that were scripted as well. And then I went on to management full time for many years. I think when COVID hit, I shot a short horror film, and no one was really doing anything. So this band, Concrete Dream, who you probably know of, they wanted to shoot a music video, and they were like, hey, would you direct this music video? You know, we got this really cool abando spot in the middle of Pennsylvania. And I'm just like, yeah, of course. So I drive out to the woods of Pennsylvania, and we get to this abandoned school, and I've got this really dope camera package. And I'm thinking, you know, if someone busts into this school right now, because we're in like Pennsylvania, we're going to get robbed for everything. And I was with, you know, one dude I knew for sure would have thrown down. I was with my buddy Drago, and I'm like, all right, well, if we fight back, no. If we fight back, they'll kill us. And if they kill us, no one's going to find us for weeks. So that was like the original moment of actual fear, and where I thought I need to protect my surroundings and protect myself. But beyond that, Synapse starts going off, and I'm like, wait a minute, maybe there's a story here. And that was the inception of Director's Cut, you know, which the elevator pitch becomes a band gets hit up by a director on social media to shoot a free music video. He lures them out to the woods of Pennsylvania, and they never return. So that's it in a nutshell.
You know, I think that, and I think we've discussed this before, is these sort of ideas, similar to like the green room, right? Which is like, why didn't I think of that? So obvious, so pure, so clean, you know, great idea, doable, not, you know, car chases and gunfights. And it's the same thing with director's cut. You know, why didn't I think of that? A band, a desperate young band looking, you know, for a break, replies to an ad and connects with a mysterious music video director, and goes out into a middle of nowhere, sketchy kind of place to do the music video, and basically, you know, chaos ensues. What a great concept.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you know, it was all the toys I was already playing with, you know, music videos, young bands, desperate for fame, you know, and it's like, not to get into negative critique, but there were people, you know, like, no band would ever, and I'm like, you don't know bands.
Yeah, right.
I've worked with artists my whole life, and I was one before I worked with them, you know, in the management capacity. And like, yeah, you would do it when you come from nothing. And this band comes from Mastic, Long Island. They come from a depressed area where they have nothing but this. You are going to go to the end of the earth to make it happen, you know?
Yeah. That basically, the premise is, you know, this young struggling band, and you sent me a couple of pictures, and here's these are production shots from the set, but I mean, one thing you know you really did was you really populated the film with talented young actors. Explain who's this, and how did you get involved with these kids?
So we're looking from left to right. You've got Haley Cassidy plays the role of Jen, and she's got her arm around her boyfriend, the lead singer, Jay Francis, played by Tyler Ivey. And Tyler's got his arm around Brandy Ochoa, who plays the role of Menace, the bass player in the band. The casting process went through a casting agent. We were proper. We used Adrian Stern. Right. And what we sent out was specifically for the bandmates was that they couldn't just be kids that were acting in New York trying to get gigs. They had to be someone that comes from the band world. So they had to send in an audition tape from the sides.
Wow.
And then they sent in a tape of them playing something.
Wow.
So everyone that was in the band was playing something, except for you have these, you know, you have your meticulous planning of what you're going to do for making the film, but then the spontaneous stuff happens. So the spontaneous thing that happened during casting was I really wasn't sold on Menace, the bass player, who was a guy at first. And I really liked Brandy Ochoa's performance as Jen, and I also liked Haley Cassidy. And I said, well, I could have my cake and eat it too if Brandy would read for Menace, the bass player, and I just had her be the bass player in the band. And she was really open to it. And when I saw her do this one scene on an in-person callback with Tyler Ivey, I was like, yeah, those two look like they've battled before. And they are, you know, because Menace and the lead singer are a little bit at odds with one another. So it really worked out well. She took bass lessons. She bought a bass. She had the songs learned, you know, prior to getting on set. I can't really speak highly enough about the performance and the work ethic of all these young kids that came onto this film, because they really showed up to win the game.
Well, you know, I think I like to say it's common knowledge, but I mean, just from the background that I came up in, casting is a huge part of it. Now, I know there's some directors that really like to improvise on set, but I think even those directors, it's casting. Sure, you can improvise on set, but you have to have the keys in place. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I read somewhere on the almighty internet, you know, that like directing is 80% casting.
That's right.
And
That's
like,
right.
I hold faith in that, because I've done projects before. I've done short projects where you kind of like would cast someone because you are filling a position,
Right.
and it didn't work. And with this one, it was like when I saw these kids and I saw a lot of talent, even the ones that I didn't select, I knew like they were gonna make this role happen, and they were gonna work for it. And then putting them together in the callbacks, we had the chemistry test, which was really to see, well, who looks like they play together, play well together. Because we had two relationships to show on screen, one with the lead singer and one with the guitarist. And there was a bit of a bizarre love triangle happening with the lead singer and the guitarist's girl, and you'll see that in the film. But we wanted to make sure that the chemistry was key. And we spent time. We looked at a lot of tapes. We really, really looked at a lot of tapes to make sure we got what we felt was going to work. And it's a chemistry experiment, right? Like you do all of this planning, you have this script, you have all these people working, and at the end of the day, it's a chemistry experiment. It's a live, even though you're going to make the film and edit, it's a live performance you need to capture. And they were all crushing. They really, really gave it an amazing, amazing performance.
I talked to a couple of the kids at the premiere that I went to, and they were just so excited, and it must be it must be so thrilling for a young person like that to catch a break and be in a great film like this. It's exciting.
Yeah, I can't say because I don't know legally if it can be said yet, but one of them landed a very big role for something that's happening right now.
Aww.
And it's the same genre. So like, I'm hoping to see that become a thing. They get noticed from this film and they move on to great things, and then they lose my number. And I can say, I knew this guy when.
But at least now we know that and we accept that, at least. Because there was a time when I didn't understand that, know that, and accept that, and it caused a lot of grief. That's life.
Yeah,
it's life.
Yeah, it's in the music business too. I was in artist development constantly, so there was always the thought that like someone was going to poach one of my artists as they got bigger. Major, and it happened to me before. I had artists that weren't even major, but like they were on the rise and they got poached by somebody. It happened so that the 3 times it happened with me, their careers tanked after they left me. But that's life.
It's like the early days of the golden age of music video, when we'd go do a music video for a band, for peanuts, for nothing, their first music video, and the video kind of put them on the map, and then
they get a record deal and a budget, and
they don't even take our call anymore.
Yeah. No, listen, the music video game is cold.
It's cold.
I think it really helped me push myself more into writing and wanting to direct narrative stuff, because I think it was Peter Green one day. He was like, I had just finished shooting, and I shot a lot of Danny's music videos. We had Peter in a music video. And Peter really loved the video we did. We did "Don't You Want Me," and he was like, "Dude, this is not a music video. It's a short film. It's so amazing, and you did so good with this." And he really loved the video. And he just said to me one day, because I was like, "I think I'm going to try to get an agent and shoot more video." And he's like, "If you go down that road, you are going to be walking further away from the road of making movies."
There you go.
And he goes, "So be careful how far you want to travel down that road." That stayed with me because, I've sacrificed a hell of a lot to sit in the chair behind this desk and write stuff that I could potentially sell or shoot. And it's overwhelming at times because you don't see any momentum. It's not, there's not a lot of things happening in the immediate that you're doing and you're rewarded for. So you build these long form projects, and you hope for the best, and this was the longest one I think I worked on besides the Columbo book.
Doing a project like this, and just in my experience, having a film script and having a dream, and it's, I commend you so much on getting it done. You really climb the mountain, man, and I have a lot of respect for you to do it. For doing it. I know how hard it is. And a lot of times I feel like with my film Finders Keepers, there's been times in life where sort of like the merry-go-round goes around and you get a little closer to making, to jumping, to, you know, jumping off into the void. There's been a couple of times where, you know, it's gotten closer, and then, you know, it's faded, and then it came back and got even closer, and then it faded. And like the last time I was right there, I shot it. We were right there, and then a couple things happened, and now you know, so to be able to make that leap across the void, I know what that means, man.
Yeah, it's a lot, you know, and you hear that one expression that a film dies 3 times before it's made. You know, that's a reality too. I mean, if I had hair on my head, I would have lost it all from the beginning of the film to the end of the filming. I know that it takes a lot out of you, but at the same time that it takes a lot out of you, and it can depress you, and it can frustrate you, and it can exhaust you, and it does all the benefits that come with all of those obstacles and things you go through surpasses it by a million miles. You know, I don't really, I can't, you know, it's like, you know, you just got married on Sunday. I can't imagine how fast time was going during that event on Sunday for you. But I know at my New York City premiere and my White Plains premiere, like time was like, you know, someone would be like, oh, I didn't grab a picture with you. I don't even remember, you know, I only have photos to look back, but like, you know, you're just like, you're zipping through it like bing, 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 bing. And the feeling is so good. It's like someone, you know, mainlined a drug and just gave it to you, and you rock.
Yeah, it's funny you should bring that up, because, you know, we just played some big shows in Vegas. And like we said to the band, we're getting on stage, let's just try to be cognizant of let's be in the present. Let's not let everything just go, it's over. Let's try to connect with each other on stage, and let's try to appreciate the moment. And, you know, it's hard sometimes when, you know, it's hard, especially when challenges arise, like on the battlefield, you know, then
I was just going to say, set life. It's very hard for me. Like, I'll have someone that's known me my whole life, and a couple of dear friends came by on set to like hang and see what's up. And it's hard for me to be the real me while I'm on set, because I am so laser focused. So like, you know, you're getting questions thrown at you every second. And if they're not being thrown at you, you're getting eyes of people who want to throw questions at you. So it's just a constant, you know, workaholic moment, you know, from 12-hour day, where like, it's hard to stop for a second, breathe it in, and be like, holy crap, I'm making the feature film. You know, it's my first feature film. So it's such a big deal to me. It was, you know, but I didn't allow emotion to really carry into any of those moments. There was a few of them, because we, you know, at the mansion in Yonkers, there were a few moments where I kind of just, I knew they were doing a lighting setup that was going to take extra time. So I would check in on my talent, check in on my SFX team, you know, check in on whoever I needed to with my keys. And if I did like a full round check, I would sneak off outside to the back of the mansion and just like take a deep breath and just kind of like, you know, feel a moment, or go in the basement. Or there was definitely some moments I caught myself alone in the mansion, and I just had a moment where this is it, man. You know,
right on. Those moments are important, and I can relate. You know, I like to be the first one on set. I like to be the first. I like to be the first. That was handed down from my dad, but I like to be when we do these Bowery Electric shows, I like to be the first one there and go in the room by myself and just sit there and just sort of sort of feel the room a little bit, because, you know, then in a certain regard, I feel like I own the room a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I was the first one there. I have, you know, it's my vibe in there first. I feel like I have some control over the room a little bit. So
yeah, I the first person there thing is great. You know, I think the first day that we shot, I remember going out, and when the big truck pulls in and the gates going down, it was like still dark out, and there was like one little battery light in the parking lot. And I remember just like, as it all starts happening, and then dawn starts to happen, right? Because we were trying to get some shots off with the sun. When dawn was coming in, you know, it was like, there's some magical stuff. It's definitely, you know, I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker the first day I ever stepped foot on a set. It was just the energy. It was so, it overtook me. I was just like, you know, there's no drug that's going to make me feel the way that I feel operating as a director on set. And I just know I'd chase it to the end of the earth.
Right on. I want to show, I want to let's look at some of a couple clips or get a feel. But before we go there, here's you working on set with Louie Lombardi, right? And tell us, how did you get involved with this incredible actor? Give us the background, and how did he end up in director's cut?
So I met Louis through his cousin BJ, who's there. You know, Louis is originally from the Bronx. He's from Country Club, and he was one of the first people that I knew that was a working actor living in Los Angeles. So my music trips out to LA as a manager, I linked up with Lou, and he was just a really cool guy that was like, you know, he's on TV, he's on Sopranos, he's on 24, he's on Hawaii 5-0, and you know, and I have his phone number in my phone, you know, and he picks up the phone. So he and I had talked for a while. He actually helped me get the lead actor I had in my TV pilot for Westchester. And he really would give me advice every once in a while about the filmmaking in Hollywood. So he's a vet, you know, he's 30 plus years in the business, and we never really got a project that we could do together. And I think during COVID, when I started writing out the character of Mr. Director, my first thoughts were like this Uncle Buck meets John Wayne Gacy kind of a thing. And I know Louie, like in the real world Louie, and he's a really funny guy, and he's got this like really funny, awesome energy. But at the same time, he has this very serious side to him where like, don't mess around because, you know, he'll make you pay the consequences. And I thought, man, if we can expand upon that for you know, a character. And I called him up and I said, Lou, I'm writing something right now. It's, you know, it's completely out of the mob or organized crime genre. It's horror. It's, you know, something I love to write. And, you know, I started sending him some sides and he really loved it. And he was all for it. He was super supportive. He came on board. We were, you know, a low budget horror shoot. So it was done through SAG, but it was, you know, it was a beans and rice shoot. You know, we weren't even put under extreme conditions. You know, he was in a hotel room, he had the car and all that, but he blessed us and came on board and gave, you know, an amazing performance as a killer. He's iconic, man, and I can't wait to do the second one with him. Yeah,
I have the ability. Let me see. Let's see if we can. Now, what should we look at here? Any idea?
Yeah, I mean, I guess queuing up to like potentially when he comes into the library and seeing his creep.
Do you know how far in that is?
I could find that. Yeah, let's see. Probably let's start off by guessing 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
That might be too far, but let's see. Yeah, it's not far enough. Let's go with 20.
This is 19.
Let's go with 30, 29, 15. See if you can get to there. Let's see how good your skills are. 29, 15.
There you go, 29:15.
So this is them in the library after they arrive at the mansion and they're about to meet him for the first time.
Okay, so this is when they meet Lou for the first time.
Yeah.
All right, let's give this a couple minutes.
Okay. I don't know if there's sound. I don't hear sound.
You don't hear sound?
I don't hear sound. Ask anybody out there if they hear sound.
Are you guys hearing sound? I am. Let me see. I'm hearing it, but
I could put up on my phone. Nah, I don't hear sound on my phone.
No sound.
No sound on my phone. No sound. No, I don't hear. Nah, no sound.
Hold on.
You can pull up the trailer.
Yeah, maybe that's the way to go because what I'm doing is I'm screening this right off the Vimeo link, so maybe it's not.
YouTube. Maybe do the YouTube trailer. Yeah, the Vimeo. I don't know why. It's on the Vimeo link. It's not muted, right?
No, I'm hearing it on my end. I'm hearing it through my headphones. I guess it's just not. It's not
Playing.
coming out. Here's the trailer again, right?
I'm still no. Let me see if I'm getting sound. I hear this.
What's your name, guy?
They call me Mr. Director.
Cool. So, Mr. Director, what's next?
I think we're gonna record a music video. There's a director, and he wants to shoot us for free.
That's fucking cool.
Seems too good to be true, but could be the break we need.
There'll be no drama. Let's not ruin your big moment.
Yeah,
Hey, what? Tell us about this location, because a big part of this film, I feel, is sort of the big score on the great location. How did you guys end up at this location?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely the location is a major character. It's you know, it's one of the biggest characters in the film. And originally, as I was mentioning, I was out in the woods of Pennsylvania in this abandoned school shooting a music video. My hope was to go back out to that school and just shoot this movie there. I had it all laid out in my mind, from different rooms to chase scenes and whatnot. And, you know, shooting a low budget film, the cost of going out 2 weeks to the woods of Pennsylvania, hotel rooms, you have to pay travel pay with SAG. And there was just so much that it couldn't be done with the amount of money we had. So my executive producer, Anthony Carpenito, you know, I call him up because he's one of these guys where it's like you call him up and you're like, Anthony, I need a, you know, this and that. And he's like going to get on it until it happens. So he's like calling guys, and we're looking at theaters in Connecticut. We had like a whole bunch of places, and I'm like, no. And then one Sunday he buzzes me and he's like, hey, bud, I just sent you a pic, and it's this place in Yonkers. I'm down here in Yonkers, right off Broadway. And I'm looking at the pic, and it's, you know, it's not a great pic, but I could see something. And I was like, yeah, this looks like it could be something. He's like, it's an abandoned facility. It's a mansion. I'm like, all right. So we randomly, you know, I hit him up and my other producer, and we're like, let's just put a pin on the calendar. So let's go Tuesday at 10 o'clock and drive up to this place and walk around.
Sure.
So Tuesday, 10 o'clock, we all roll, 3 of us roll up to this place, and there's a car in the driveway. It's a truck. I'm like, oh, there's a truck. There's someone doing something. So
This is it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's all right. So we walk up into the driveway, see this guy, and I'm like, you know, introduce myself. I'm a writer, director, looking to shoot a horror film, wondering, you know, if you guys would be interested in doing film. He's like, listen, let me stop you right there. We used to film in here all the time. We lost our certificate of occupancy, so there's no more filming happening here. And I'm like, all right. And he was a little tough about it. And I was like, fuck. And you know, we were there already. And then this car rolls up, and these 2 older people get out of the car. And he's like, I have to show the place to some people from the Museum of Natural History. He's like, if you guys want to walk around, he's like, you know, go ahead and walk around the property. So we walk around the outside of the property, and I'm like freaking kid in the candy store. I'm just like, oh my God, look at that, look at that, look at that. It's totally insane.
I could shoot this. I could shoot this here. I could see this scene here. I could do the whole thing here. It's friggin' Yonkers. Like,
yeah, I made 3 movies circling the house 3 times. So
right.
And then the guy walks out the side door, and he's like, look, these people are done looking around. You want to come in, you guys can look around. And I'm like, oh my God, he's being nice. So we walk in there. That was it. It was over. I didn't care what had to happen. If I had to, you know, befriend freaking Bill Gates and sign my life away to the devil and get money, I'm going to make a movie in this mansion.
Sure.
So I'm walking through, I'm taking pictures, and I'm like totally blown away. So my producer is like, says to the guy, he's like, listen, you know, could we just grab you for lunch next week? We're not shooting into the fall. He's, you know, and we get lunch with this guy. For some reason, he's like, all right, cool. So we do lunch. We tell him about the film. We tell him about the story. We tell him about the marketing plan. And this guy's like, I'm going to help you. And we help them get the CO back from the city of Yonkers. And then we worked it out where we got to go inside that place and film. Now, with the gift came the curse, because it wasn't, everyone's like, oh yeah, you got it. And no. So on the other side of that coin, they had filmed in there for years, and the SAG rep for that.
And let me interrupt and say that longtime tattoo company says, is there legalities to scoring your location? I think that's tying in with what you're getting at. Just just keep going with the story, but just the whole rigmarole. It's not a matter of just finding a place. Yeah, you could shoot here, and then it is a big pain in the ass. So go ahead with they shot here in the past, because here it comes.
So mainly, I'll say, to answer this thing also, is that when you're working with a union, SAG, right, and they're one hell of a union, they need you to have your paperwork all proper. So if you're shooting a movie and you want to go guerrilla it, I've done that. Drew, you've done that, where we just go in and we shoot. But to ensure actors properly, you need certificates and you need proof at every level. So that's, legally, there's some stuff that has to be, the checks and balances system have to be proper. So with that, we're going that route. We get the permission. So I shoot for a full week, all the stuff outside of the mansion. That's how our shooting schedule was. We would finish the mansion. So now we're going to go shoot at the mansion. We arrive on set, and to give you the 1 week prior, we saw a SAG rep 2 times in that 1 week prior for about 30 minutes, the 2 days that she showed up. So an hour total, 7 days. This woman comes there and spends 4.5 hours there and is like, you can't film in this room. You can't film in that room. You can't. Let me see this. Let me see that. And she just started.
The SAG rep was saying this?
The SAG rep, who didn't even say hello to any of the SAG actors. She just walked on set.
How does a SAG rep have the ability to say what rooms you can shoot in?
Because their actors, they are protecting, have to walk in said rooms. So she's saying, I know this structure. It didn't have a CO. This room needs to be abated. This room's got lead poisoning. This room's got nuclear. This room's got too much dust in it. And listen, nothing she was saying was quantifiable to metrics, and she was just rattling off that you can't shoot here. And so we went with whatever little money we had to try to appease them and got some rooms abated. And, she literally shut down. We're shooting a closet scene with Danielle, and she stopped us for I'm like losing. Now, you know how much 5 minutes being shut down on set is. We're shutting down for hours at a time. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my focus. I'm losing my ability to think straight. I'm losing my cool. And she was on set every day for 4.5 hours a day. And I'll tell you this, Drew, and this is just my personal experience with them from one film. I hope that I make 90 and it never happens again. But we shot through the SAG strike. So the writer's strike was happening. The SAG strike was happening. We waited in line to get our ticket number for them to give us the magic wand blessing to say you can film. We got the blessing from them to film. So we're shooting through the strike, which means we're paying them more money, and we signed contracts with them that the studios wouldn't sign. So we signed the contracts, we're paying them the more money, we're shooting the film. And at a time where they could have embraced the independent film community and said, we are doing this with you, they took their boot, put it on my neck, and stepped on it until I choked and couldn't breathe.
That's what they do.
That's what they do.
Yep.
So, fuck SAG on this film, because they really made it a miserable experience for me. And just this one person, I'm not saying anything about all the other SAG reps, the SAG heads and all of them. And, we come to find out from someone that this woman, she worked in that building like a decade prior or something, and blamed a pregnancy issue with being in that building. So she had a predisposition already, and it was already bad for us. And I'm like, I have nothing to do with that.
She had a chip on her shoulder.
She had a chip on her shoulder, man. I could never be on set with her again. She started getting she first said it was just the building. Then Brian Spears, my special effects makeup artist, who's got 30 years in the business, right? Guy's on American Horror Story. He did Smile, Smile 2, Companion, just did Goosebumps. Here's a guy that's a vet in the business.
Is that this guy here?
Papow, that's the guy standing with the brush behind Brandy Ochoa, correct?
Right.
And on sitting down with the gray hair and glasses is Michael Gingold from Fangoria and Rue Morgue.
Wow.
And then Brian's assistant is working on Juan Bang with some burn marks. So, yeah, so Brian Spears, you know, you see that table next to him and he's got blood, he's got this, she's going into everything. She said, I need to see the MSDS sheets on this. You can't prove with what. There was one thing in this smoke setup where we had 99% of the ingredients shown to her, and we couldn't show her the MSDS on one ingredient. She would not let us use it. But she was saying she was there to help us. I brought a physician's associate to set that was specialized in dermatology to explain to her that there was nothing harm. She didn't want to hear anything. And this is a woman with probably no college diploma, no experience in dermatology, just my way or the highway. We've got the gun and the badge. F off.
Yeah.
So I'm getting excited. But
is it possible to shoot a film like this and not have SAG involved at all and just do it guerrilla style off the grid? Like just for the uninitiated out there, like what are the pros and cons? Like faced with something like that, could you just be like, you know what, we're using non-union, like why go either way with it?
Absolutely. The reason why I went SAG is that lead characters that were in SAG could not film during the strike without SAG's permission. So they couldn't at that time do a non-union shoot that wasn't, you know, bracing arms and locking arms with you. So my advice to any filmmaker making their first feature film is do it without SAG if you can, because they are just going to make your life a living hell. And if you don't have a producer who's well-versed in working with SAG or an attorney or somebody, it's really going to be painful. And there's already going to be so much pain in making your first film. Why add an extra, you know, dagger to the situation?
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned one thing that just watching the film, and this is a testament, is really great special effects makeup work. Can you tell us a little bit more about the project, the process, and how did you connect with this special effects team?
So Brian Spears, again, industry veteran. I can't say enough great things about the work this guy does. You know, again, if you didn't see Companion, what an amazing film. If you didn't see Smile 2, I felt like for me it was better than the first one. And the stuff he did with Jack Nicholson's son is amazing. So Brian worked on a horror film called Old 37 with one of my producers, Paul Travers. And we connected that way. And I had told him about the script. But, you know, like many people, they don't think it's real or whatnot. But once we got financed, I was like, hey, I'm coming up to your crib, man. Let's talk about these kills. So we ended up doing a Zoom, and I wanted to go through, you know, my script and my idea for kills and say to him, you know, what can we afford? Because when you're doing a low budget horror, you can write something down, but like if it's a crash scene and you can't do it the right way, you're gonna have to write that out of the script. So
sure,
I thought it best served if I just called Brian and said, like, what do you have that you think I can make happen that's similar to what's in the script? And he really, you know, he came right down to my level and worked with me. And I was super happy with what we did. It's all practical effects. We did nothing in post-production. Yeah. And I would call him up in a heartbeat for the second film, and I definitely will.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense. Here's a shot. I guess this is sort of a testament to that location once again. That pretty gnarly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's you know, I don't even think we ended up shooting in this room, but we were definitely down there. Probably gonna get in trouble for that, but yeah, I love this. Is in the basement, believe it or not.
I mean, let me just say that locations like this is like $1 million set right here. You know,
To give everyone, let me give everyone a history of the mansion. So it's the William Boyce Thompson home, and William Boyce Thompson, turn of the century, from New York City, went up to Yonkers and bought property and built a horticulture school up on North Broadway. And he was traveling, maybe even by horse and buggy up then, to check out this school, and finally was like, you know what, I'm just going to build a house across the street from the school. So the guy builds a house, right? When you build a house, how big do you build it? He built a 40,000 square foot mansion with a maid's quarter for 30. So you can get an idea how big really this guy was. And it's on the Hudson too. So North Broadway and Yonkers kind of sits on like cliffs overlooking the Hudson River.
It's up there near Untermeyer Park.
You could spit on Untermeyer Park.
Yeah, which is where Son of Sam used to go buck wild. But it's for those that don't know, this is a beautiful part of Westchester, right on the river. Every time we go up there a lot. And I always say, I go, the majestic Hudson. It is so beautiful from there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Untermeyer, when I was growing up, was like a place you were scared of because of the David Berkowitz and the Son of Sam. Yeah. We had always heard the rumors that they were doing like animal sacrifices there. And there was this place in Untermeyer called the Cave, I think it was called.
Right. That's right.
Like, you go down in it and it was graffiti, and these guys, it was petrifying. But now you go there, wedding photos. You know,
well, they buried the cave. They raised it, and because of young people like yourselves would make a pilgrimage there, and they just couldn't deal with it anymore.
What a journey! What a journey! But so that mansion, the size of that mansion. I mean, you know, on a film like this, hour and a half, we couldn't even use a quarter of the mansion. Like we had to pick and choose. We're like, all right, we can go in this room and this room.
Wow.
And we got to run a couple hallways, but you wouldn't believe how enormous this thing was and how never ending it felt. Secret little compartments and everything. There was a lot going on that we couldn't even.
When did it stop kind of being functional? Do you know?
It never really stopped. They've done like weddings there. I've heard there's been a rave there. They've done New Year's party. Like, people will continuously rent the spot out to do events there. I definitely, I would love to make a return for the second film and just kind of have a little bit from the first film on flashbacks and whatnot. But a fun fact. So when we were done filming, another film called them and used the property, and the film didn't come out yet. But it's The Bride with Penelope Cruz and Christian Bale that Maggie Gyllenhaal was directing. So me and Christian Bale are like bros now because we both filmed in the same facility.
Right on.
I'm
just putting the screener back up. There's no sound, but we're just looking. We're looking for location. We're just looking at location stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's so amazing. Yeah, I just wouldn't go if I were you. Don't go past like an hour 20 and an hour 15, because it'd be a spoiler. But yeah, I mean, it was absolutely incredible to work in that place. And it was freezing cold. The conditions were not, Sony Pictures or New Line Cinema. The kids struggled. Everyone was cooped up in the holding area for hair and makeup. And my lead makeup artist for the film was Roxanne Rizzo, who was another industry vet. So she was doing everyone's daily look, their main look for the film. And then Brian handled the SFX stuff. But I'd rock in the room, and Roxanne's got someone in the chair, and the kids all had a couch, and there was a couple of heaters in there, and there was a wardrobe changing tent, and it's a family environment, and that extends even to my crew. My director of photography, Bliss Basant, I shot my first music video with him in 2002, and at that time he had like a 6-year-old girl who was my wardrobe and stylist for this film, Kai Busan. That's what she ended up, working in, was fashion. So his daughter worked on the film. His son was a grip on the film. His other son was a key grip on the film. So, we do have this real family-like style environment when we were shooting, and it makes it that much easier to feel like everyone around you, is safe and comfortable, and,
Sure.
no one's got this major ego throwing it around when they walk into rooms, or there's that person that you have to be afraid of on set. That
helps.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
helps.
it's really good. It was
Yeah.
important. We had some first AD problems. Yeah, we ran into quite the situation, I think, on our second day of filming. We were doing a very simple driving shot that needed to pump brakes, and for that they really wanted me to have a stunt coordinator because the brakes were being hit. So I argued, because every day you bring in a stunt coordinator, it costs more and more money. So I'm like, okay, we can do the stunt coordinator, but we have to pick how many different things inside the script you feel are needed for a stunt coordinator. I can't just put a stunt coordinator every time someone sneezes. So there was this Zoom that happened, and we picked the days that we would have the stunt co. So here comes that driving shot. The stunt coordinator is organizing it, telling us, this is what we're going to be doing.
And this is with the van?
This is with the van. Yep.
Yeah.
This is with the van. So the shot happens, the first take that we try, and there was a piece of a box, an Apple box or something, or a piece of equipment in the back of the van that moved. And the second AD flipped out. She was like, this is unsafe, and blah, blah, blah. And then the first AD was coming. So the stunt coordinator says, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have these people in this car. And he comes up with this plan, right? And we tie everything down and whatnot. And we're still getting a lot of flack. And I had been getting flack from the first AD forever. So it really came down to like her trying to manage the shoot, direct it, go over the top of the stunt coordinator who she handpicked and hired. And I'm like, how are you overriding the guy who's supposed to be setting protocol right now? This is the guy you hired to do this exact job. And she lied to me, to my producer, and said, this is what he wants. And then the guy pulls us aside and said, I did not say that, and that's not what I want.
How did you end up with her as the AD?
We did a same kind of casting process when we were staffing. We did a lot of Zooms. We read resumes. We met people, and you think you know who they are via this. My line producer, Anthony Argento, did a great job of bringing a lot of people to the meetings so that we could have more than one choice.
Is Anthony Argento related to Tony Argento, his father?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he's a line producer. Yep.
I never put that together.
Mm-hmm.
So
his pops is the big man. Yeah, for sure.
So wait a second. So I was at his sister's wedding in the 80s.
No shoot.
I was at his sister's. Talk about big Italian weddings, bro.
I bet.
I was at it. So wow. So my dad, So my dad shooting commercials in the 70s in New York and in the 80s would shoot at Broadway stage.
Yeah.
Tony Argento got the movie theater in Astoria, Queens. It was an old theater. I forgot which theater. It was right on Broadway. And his dad was in the concrete business. And they leveled the floor out. And my dad used to shoot commercials on Broadway stage in Astoria. I shot there. I AD'd the Fat Boys video there. That's the Wipeout that Scott Calvert directed. My dad used to. I worked tons of shoots in the original one. It was one stage. It was an old movie theater.
Yeah, now they have like 100. It's crazy.
I realized I did not know that. So I just saw Tony Argento. We went to Gabe DeRienzo. So I was a stage manager at 3G stage, which was Gabe DeRienzo's place. We just went to Gabe's daughter's wedding, and we were seated with Tony Argento.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, he's a legend.
I had no idea.
Yeah, his son's a line producer. I was actually introduced to Anthony. I'm trying to think. I don't want to get it. I feel like Heather Buckley introduced me to Anthony.
Right on.
Yeah, because we were on the hunt. And then one of the gifts of shooting
did Heather work on this shoot?
No, she made some introductions, so she's definitely in the special thanks for sure. And Heather actually came to Rutherford a few weeks back to PaisanCon, saw the film for the first time there, which wasn't the best theater. I think there was like a lag, and I don't know if that's because they didn't want the DCP or whatever, some technical thing, but I can't. The moments like that where I see like it's not perfect and we paid for perfect.
Yeah, I know.
And
It's tough,
perfect,
man. It's
I go
tough.
crazy. I'm like losing my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's
So yeah, that was with how we got the staffing done was through Anthony Argento. And you know, I thought I had this superior chick being my first AD. I thought I had an even more superior chick who was my second AD. And day 2, one of them got fired, like walked through the woods, and she was out of there, and then the other one quit. And you know, we just kind of juggled, you know, and made it happen. You know, we moved quickly. We got done as much as we could get done every day.
wow.
It's a position that's very necessary in filmmaking, but I haven't found anyone yet that I'm like, this is going to be my first AD for a lot of shoots.
It's a tough job, man. You know, first AD. I used to work as a second AD, which is, you know, on a lot of, you know, like Eric B. and Rakim, Follow the Leader. I was a second AD.
Nice.
I was on the other one. What was the other one? Microphone Fiend. Taylor's. What was that one? I want to have some fun. Who was that? That was Samantha Fox.
Samantha Fox.
Yeah, I used to do second. You know, but first AD. That's heavy. Let me take a sponsor break, and
Sure.
let me get a couple minutes and do the sponsor break, and let's come back and let's continue on our journey and talk about director's cut and even what the future holds. So I'll see you back in a couple minutes.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Our guest today is filmmaker Don Capria. Hey, wait, go back to Samantha Fox. I want to have some fun, move my body on. Yeah, it was a second AD on that. Shot at Bethesda Fountain in Central Park, where we went back and shot Typo Negative Black #1. And you know, and here's a tie-in. I just dug this up as we were talking. We're talking about here's a shot of me, Paris Mayhew, who directed Typo Negative Black #1, and Gabe DiRienzo, who I knew through Tony Argento when I was the stage manager at 3G Stage. So there you go. That said, let's do Bethesda Fountain. As you, Jimmy Ferrari, know, it's where we shot Typo Negative Black #1. So Delta Bravo, that's right. Let's do some promo stuff, and we'll be back in a second. Since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Will that be cash or in debt?
Do you mean debit?
Yes. Sorry. Another eternally satisfied customer.
Yo, what's happening? I'm out here at one of our all-ages Sunday matinees on the Bowery. I hope that you are enjoying today's show. I just want to let you know that the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live needs your support. Please step up. There is a Patreon page that has a lot of unique program. Shows are announced there first. Lots of good stuff. There's a PayPal address right there on the screen if you want to make a contribution. There's also a super chat function. You could do that. But the bottom line is this show exists because of your support. We're going to be doing it for a long, long time. Thank you for all your support through the years. Back to the show.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth, society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking opinion.
And we're back. It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Hey, want to mention a couple of things, couple interesting things. Our friends at the Texas Silver Rush, which, as you know, Joe Ramini is Vinny Stigma's cousin. They have created these new hats to commemorate the tour that's going out. It is the Outlaw Vinny Stigma. These are very cool. The Outlaw Vinny Stigma caps are available at the TexasSilverRush.com. Here's another shot. How about that? How about them apples? I got to get one of these. The Big Vinny Stigma Tour. The Big Vinny Stigma Tour is heading out. Now, could this just be coincidence? As we're talking here, Alan Robert from Facebook says, "Yo, on Facebook sends me, yo, congrats on your wedding. The other day I was at a backyard party and ran into the girl from the Black Number One video randomly. We actually never met, but I drew her for the typo negative graphic novel. Funny." Wow, there are no accidents. Just so happens we were just talking about that Black Number One video. Wow. Anyway, the Outlaw Vinny Stigma hats are available. Check them out at the TexasSilverRush.com. Want to mention a couple of upcoming shows. Next up on the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, 1 week from today, Benjamin Howard Smith from the Broughtlow, Sweet Diesel, the Kill Van Cull, and the Gilgo Beach Boys is on the show. A couple days after that, Sunday, June 15th, Freddie Madball celebrating the release of True to the Game, the Roadrunner Years. Wednesday, June 18th, Mike Maluski from Bulldoze, Train of Thought, Homicidal, Hold My Own, Zero Trust, and J-Way of Bayway will be on the show Wednesday, June 25th. Greg Jacobs, to talk about his book, Hell on Wheels, is Wednesday, July 16th. So lots of good stuff coming on. Please support the show on Patreon. There's also a PayPal address there. Do a super chat function. The show needs your support. Continue to support the show as we march on into the future. Please follow the show on Instagram at Stone Films NYC. And if you're NYC and if you're watching the show in rerun, please hit the like button right there and give it a thumbs up. That is important. Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that crazy? We just as we mentioned the typo negative Black Number One being shot at Bethesda Fountain, he sends me a message talking about that video, and then he met the gal. That's crazy, man. There are no accidents, right? Like, what's next? You know, crazy. That said, let's clear the deck. Let us clear the deck, and let's bring our guest back on, Director Don Capria. Hey, man.
Hey, man. What's going down?
You know,
Collecting some money. I hope.
Just hustling. You know, at this point, you know, I'm fortunate. The show has a fan base, and you know, man. I miss being a filmmaker, Don. You know, you're always a filmmaker. You're just on break. I know, man. But you know.
I mean, I'm not a filmmaker right now. I'm sitting behind my desk, you know, trying to make a script happen, but definitely not filmmaking.
Yeah.
We got a special guest. Bud is in the room.
Bud's in the house.
Yep. He hears some action. He's wondering why he didn't get a call. He didn't get the call sheet. He didn't get any of the info.
Wow. Don't worry, there's more coming. You know. How difficult was it to? I mean, films like this don't magically happen. You know, how did you get the funding to make something? I mean, you don't have to get into particulars, but
Snapchat, OnlyFans.
I mean, how does it happen?
It's very difficult. It's one of the hardest things to do, and it's the job that nobody wants to do. Everyone oh, I got the script and we'll just do it. And you set a goal for a number. You hope you hit that goal. Because that's what you're basing your whole line budget on. I know what I needed to shoot after doing shorts. I know what I needed to shoot cost-wise in a day for production to give a look that someone would think was familiar to my past work. And I kind of worked with Anthony Argento on that. And, we shot this thing for under $500,000, which was no easy feat to make look the way it looked. So a lot of stuff had to be, taken off the list, but the meeting of investors process is long. It's sometimes it's fruitful, sometimes it's not. I think I had a lot of really, Anthony Carpenito, my executive producer, he just made sure that I saw a lot of people. It's a numbers game. If you're opening up a restaurant, you need money, you're going to have to meet with a lot of people. And it's just, 90% of them say no, but the 10% of them that say yes. And that duration of time that it takes. So that's another thing too. At some point, I started getting into this situation where I was wondering if I had, what was more to me, another $100,000 or shooting it now? Because you start, there's that expression, don't keep pushing the goalposts back.
Right.
And I think two people that were very, the industry vets that I knew that were telling me not to push the goalposts back, shoot the film, one was Louie Lombardi. He's like, you got to just get this film done so that you can officially say you have a feature and people will pay attention for the second.
Right on. Right.
And the
on.
other one, kudos to him, was Michael Imperioli. And, I showed him the project at the script stage. And, he was like, look, you need to get this film completed, the hour and 30 minutes. And if that means you have to cut things, you got to cut things. So, always got really good advice from the few people in Hollywood that I know. And there was that moment where we said our out of the gates number, which means, we could actually start filming. We hit that number. And when we hit that number and we set up to shoot and we got permission from SAG, all of a sudden the rest of the money came in. So we didn't not raise the full amount that we were trying to raise. We raised that full amount. With that, you get to set. It was about a week before set, and Anthony Argento, doing his best job, it's like, all right, so here's the situation. This cost this much more than we thought. That cost that much more than we thought. So here's 10 things on your wish list that you wanted. You get to keep 3 of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, there goes the crane. There goes this. There goes that. And
there goes the Steadicam. There goes the crane.
Steadicam was the first thing to go. And that really, I think the only thing about my film that I go back, like, if I could go back and do it all again, there's 2 things that I messed up on.
I wish I had a Steadicam a couple days.
I wish I had a Steadicam for a couple days. It was some shots that we ended up having to do that indie style handheld movement that didn't work for the shots that we did it for, but the alternative would have been better. And then the other thing was we didn't have DIT. So if no one knows what DIT is, it's the person that's in charge of the footage. So we don't shoot film anymore, or people do. I don't shoot film. Yeah. So you're shooting digital, and that film footage has to be viewed. You have to look at the rushes and make sure it's there. We lost Halloween day of 2023. We lost 80% of the day's footage because we did not check the drives to see if it was corrupted, and it worked and it played back. So I came in under budget after the 21-day shoot, but then we had to go back and shoot again because we had lost footage. And that DIT cost, let's say for the duration of the film, could have been like maybe $2,500 for a person. And the lost day was $17,000. So do the math,
Yeah. Absolutely. It's
I think insurance cost,
Yeah. You said something that was really, really valuable about, and I've said this a lot, and I live by this when talking to people about their projects, and I've learned about it with my projects, and I tell people, just get it done and get up on the board. Get it done and get your name up on the board. There'll be, and then, because then people say, well, what else you got? You know, so many people, so many filmmakers get mucked up in, I got to do this, I got to do that. This has to be right. That has to be right. And I say, just get it done and get your name up on the board. Like, I did this accomplishment, you know, and so many people, man, just get so mucked up with, you know, well, in a lot of projects, well, this is my baby. I can't let it go. I have to have this credit, this and that. No. Compromise, make some compromises, get your name up on the board, because then you have a result, and then you can pivot, and then people know you can get shit done.
Yeah, I mean, that is so factual, because, you know, as artists, right, we're striving for perfection, or what we are, you know, dream of perfection is. It's not always perfect. It's a piece of art.
Right.
So you have all of these things that you think are necessary, but the thing that's necessary is to complete the project, especially, you know, the first one. You know, and like you said, you know, making sacrifices, you didn't say that exactly, but basically
compromise is basic.
You know, filmmaking is the most collaborative art form on the planet. There is no other art form that involves so many creative people for the end result. You know, you have a script that you think is your movie, then you know, you have an idea for what your location looks like, right? It was supposed to be this place in the middle of Pennsylvania, and then it ended up being a mansion in Yonkers. And you ended up having a bass player that turned out that wasn't a guy, it was a girl. So you make all these spontaneous changes because it's a collaborative process, and you have to be able to move. I think that's really the other part of really being a good director, is being able to collaborate with people. You know, there you have Bliss Basant, my director of photography, you know, working the blocking with me. Like, I don't get in the way of good ideas, and I don't, you know, I still try to maintain the fact that I am the director and I'm the end all be all, but I like to approach it with no ego, where like, you have to realize that there's other ideas that can come into the mix that might be better than yours. So if you have moments where you can hear people out, and you know, you can see what, you know, the special effects guy is trying to say versus what you were trying to say, it's important to do that, because, you know, the end result it takes a village to make this happen. And, you know, and ultimately, you know, it's you're making a movie in this medium in the editing suite. You know, it's not theater. You're not making it with the actors on set. You're taking that and you're going into the editing suite, and, you know, shoot a lot of credit to Noah Marks, my editor, who worked on a few films before this one, but this one, he was like a Jedi in the editing booth making this happen. I really loved what he was doing.
Do you, on a project like this, do you edit as you go, or do you completely finish everything and then start the process? Is this something that's kind of gets cut as you go?
For this project, no. I was so immersed in the shooting process, but Noah was on set every day. And then I'll tell you, we didn't have DIT, so no one was giving us rushes to look at. And that's why we missed that day of footage. So
you live and you learn, right?
You live and you learn. I don't know what my process will be in moving forward, if I'm going to be able to cut stuff together. I do know that I will always require an editor on set, because having the editor's eyes inside the box as you're moving through shots, if he's smart, which you really want an editor that's smarter than you are, you know, he's seeing what you're saying and what you're doing, and he's catching everything as it's happening. So when he goes in and starts going through the footage, he already knows a lot of the stuff that you want to keep and a lot of the stuff that happened on set. And, you know, the first cut, and Scorsese said, a lot of filmmakers say,
this is a great line. I know what's coming.
Yeah, the first, if it doesn't make you sick to your stomach, then you don't love your film. And it was absolutely, I watched the first cut at his suite, and I was just like, holy shit, I just blew $500,000. You know, like, what did I just do? And, you know, it's a piece of stone. You have to keep on chipping away and sanding, and then it becomes that thing. And you know, I'm not only very happy with what we had as an end result in the film, but like we're living with a 64% Rotten Tomatoes critic score. And Rotten Tomato critics, they want to hate everything. They tear everything to
They
pieces.
suck.
They suck. And we're a 94% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So we did a really good job with this first film in making a statement. You know, look at the cinematography, look at the acting, look at the location, look at the color. We got color graded by Company 3, and they're the biggest and the best in the business. And it only happened because we shot through the strike. So there was a little bit of lull in the work that was coming. We called them, we begged for mercy and said, hey, you know, can you guys go a little bit below your indie rate? And they were willing to work with us because of the strike. So, you know, we got colored by Andrew Geary, who is phenomenal. Look up his work. And, you know, all of that stuff, the end result, the sound we did at Apex down in New Orleans.
Yeah, the sound mix was great, man. Good.
Yeah,
good.
no,
I mean, just, you know, and I kind of lean into that just because of the music stuff, but good sound mix, man.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to have everything at that professional level. Like you watch this thing on Netflix and you don't feel like you're watching, you know, a movie shot with an iPhone and just a boom operator. And, you know, it had to be, again, you're striving for perfection. You make sure when you're putting that line budget together, you know, you're checking off items that you think you don't need. Try not color correct grading your film, and try not having good sound on your film, and see how many people like your film, because it just takes them out of the moment.
One of the first things I learned was, you know, audio. You got to get good audio, man. It's hard to come back from bad. I like what Pat Baldwin said. Hemingway said the first draft is shit, and
and that's the writing, right? So I did that to myself. Here's my journey as a filmmaker, and the way I describe it. Writing is this pain that I put myself through, where I want my characters to feel real and I want the drama to feel real. So I put myself personally through an emotional struggle, and I put myself through hell to write a script that I feel is worthy enough to shoot. And then shooting is like the drugs I get to take, because it's just such a good time to be on set and you're around people and the energy is amazing and you're just wiling out for a month. And then editing is rehab, where I go back in and I clean up everything that I had just done, so that I could have something that is presentable to people.
Who is this?
That is Greg Papa is his name, and he played the character of John Gray, who's the guitarist in the band.
Okay, and he's the first. He's kind of not to. He's sort of the first one to go, right?
Nope. He's number 2.
Oh, he's number 2, right?
Spoiler. But yeah, so he's dating the girl that used to date Jay, the singer. That's how kind of these two guys in the backstory of the film.
Right.
Jay was putting a band together, and his ex-girlfriend was a band photographer out in Long Island, and this kid in a neighboring town was this amazing guitarist. And she was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to put these two guys together. So the Suicide Disease, the band that's in the film, you know,
tell us, which was really pretty cool. Tell us about their whole, how it came together and how you created this sort of this profile for this band.
So yeah, the band was a band that I urge people to look them up. They existed before the film happened. I'm not going to go too much further into what happened to them because I don't know everything, but this band had a social media profile. They were playing shows in Long Island, and they kind of just disappeared on their way to a music video shoot. I just stole that ideation and their look. They wear masks. They wear these. You can see it on top of Brandy's head. They wear these masks when they film, and we just kind of played off the idea of like, well, if a band just stopped, like I kind of invented the story of what happened to this band that actually disappeared. You know, and it's that they went to go shoot a music video and they didn't make it home. But the songs that are out are really cool. There's one song that plays in the film that they're shooting the music video for. We got the rights to it, called War. And Ricky Armelino from Ice Nine Kills was a producer on that track. So there's a lot of like little tie-ins that if you explore, you'll see. Yeah, that's so that girl that's working on Danielle Koch is my director of photography's daughter, who really mainly was working. She's working the hat right there. She was my costumer and wardrobe person, which is like I said, my director of photography's daughter. That's how long the family relationship on set goes.
I'm still buzzing from the Anthony Argento thing. I'm still tripping. I'm tripping on that.
Small world. I'm surprised you haven't worked with Roxanne Rizzo. She's also someone that's been in the New York scene shooting for years. A lot of television stuff. I'm trying to think if there would be anybody else you might know that we worked with. I mean, it was a lot of local, like.
Well, I saw our buddy Danny Diablo show up in the film.
Danny Diablo makes a cameo in the film. That had to happen.
Had to happen.
Yeah, I mean, when I worked with Danny for so many years, managed him for so many years. When he, you talk about you shoot the music video and then they go get signed and they don't call you back, right? Danny was the reverse. He was the type of person that he's calling you to give you the shot. When he got signed to Tim and with Travis and whatnot, he wanted to do the music videos with me, and I had taken a little departure to sleepaway camp for a while. And then when I came home, Danny was like, "You're shooting this next music video." I shot DFF. I shot Pole Swinging Pigs. I shot Don't You Want Me, which was with Peter Green. I think I shot another video with him, the Cast 13 video. But Danny's the type of dude that if he tells you you're doing this next one, he's a man of his word. And I love him to death. And it was really great to have him in this.
Yeah, it's a rare breed, and they're out there.
Yeah,
there's a couple people that are past the initial bullshit of this business. They've been around a minute, and they understand that you work with the people that we're going to go with what got us here.
Yeah. So. And that's to say something about brand identity. You saw the film. I wanted to make sure even this band, right, and their story and who they are from Long Island. These kids to me were the younger brothers of New York hardcore kids. Yeah. So they were the kind of kids that knew about, Agnostic Front and the Cro-Mags and all of these, New York City hardcore bands, and went to shows, but didn't end up becoming hardcore bands in the scene. Because there's plenty of kids. I meet plenty of kids that are in the music scene doing well for themselves that know of New York hardcore bands and songs, but don't work inside that genre. Yeah.
Yeah. And lots of there's a bazillion musicians out there that have been influenced by New York hardcore or and maybe not even the music, but what they think, the ethos of New York hardcore is, it's far reaching. AK Ray Rodriguez says, "My daughter loved the movie."
Awesome.
Yeah. Tell us where can it be seen right now? Where's it streaming?
Yeah. So if you go, we have a website, directorscutmovie.com. And if you go to that website, at the top of the website, it's got a watch now symbol. You click on that watch now symbol, and all of a sudden, every service or platform that it's available on for VOD, it will show up. So there's no place you can't watch the movie. If you watch on Amazon, you can see it on Amazon. If you watch on YouTube. If you watch on Vudu, Xbox, Apple TV, it's everywhere. And that was because of the deal we did with Byron Allen's company, which was really awesome for us, so that you could tell someone, and no matter where they are, they could watch the film. And I think by the fall, we're going to be on a proper streamer, which if you subscribe to that streamer, you'll be able to watch the film for free.
Is Shudder something that would come into focus for a film like this?
Absolutely. Not saying anything, but there may or may not have been a couple meetings with Shudder very recently. So yeah, that's the one app that is not, well, Screambox also, but Shudder is just dedicated to horror films. And Sam Zimmerman's been there since the inception. He came by way of Fangoria, and he's doing a really good job programming awesome films. Now they're really digging in. They just had Clown in a Cornfield. Last year they had A Violent Nature. They had Late Night with the Devil. So they're not only just programming towards the app, but they're programming for theater releases as well, and seeing some real success stories with that.
I mean, the Shudder's really blown up. I mean, I remember when it was when I think of Heather Buckley, I think of Shudder. You know, she's worked on so many of those early films that ended up on Shudder. You know?
Yeah, and she's still kicking butt working on movies too.
That's her thing, man.
Yeah, I don't know what the future holds for me and with her possibly, but I've got this script almost 90% done. So if Director's Cut is the first film that I'm happening for me, the character, no spoiler really, is that the killer is not going to die. And the story continues to the film Producer's Cut, which I hope to shoot end of the year. And then, there'll be another film after that in the Cutiverse. Because I'd always mapped this out to be a franchise because, in the Marvel universe and the DC universe, you have these superheroes, right? And that's who people follow. But in my world, the superheroes, they're horror figures, right? Like Michael Myers and Leatherface and Freddy Krueger. So I wanted to make sure that we were having a character come to the screen that could have that kind of longevity where, there was a lot of people that could be killed. So there was a big backstory to why these kids, it's not just, you're not going to just turn on a TV and kids are driving and they get killed and the movie's over. There's a whole story behind that, and it'll be explored and opened up and unpacked more and more throughout the series of what's really happening.
Makes sense. Hey, let me take a quick sponsor break and we'll come back and let's take some questions, field some questions from around the world. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Our guest today is film director Don Capria, talking about his new project, Director's Cut, which can be seen on all platforms. Check out the film. I've seen it. It's great. You will enjoy it. Want to mention a couple of upcoming events. Of course, we mentioned at the top of the show, the Chris Robots Will Kill event this Saturday, June 7th, up at Bridge 9 Records. Sunday, June 22nd, back at our home at the Bowery Electric, Channel 3, Mala Vista, Chemical X, Chum Huffer, and Beast from the East. Free, all ages, Sunday matinee. Bring the wife and kids. Saturday, June 28th, happens to be my birthday. We will be playing up at the Brighton Music Hall in Boston, Massachusetts, with Tree, Miracle Blood, Scumberry, and Mollusk. Come on out. If you are in the New England area, we would love to see you. Sunday, July 13th, back at the Bowery Electric, Fury of 5, Shoot to 5, The Long Wait, featuring Jamie from SSD and others from Slapshot, Jerry Body and Thug It. Free all ages Sunday matinee on the Bowery. Another one, August 3rd, is Crazy Eddie's final show, going down as part of the Uptown Rumble music exhibit on display at the Museum of Bronx History, along with Brass Knuckle Brigade, the return of Enziguri, Four in the Chamber, and Godaments. Speaking of stigma, what's up Staten Island at Mother Pug Saloon, Saturday, July 19th. It's free, Under the Stars, Stigma, Incendiary Device, Fire is Murder, The Blame, Sling Blades, and Idiot Box. Pennsylvania Upstage Music Fest will be out there August 9th. Demise, Nailed to the Cross, which, hey, the word is out. Layla from Concrete Ties is singing for Nailed to the Cross. Cropsy, Jackknife Johnny, Concrete Burial, and Sid the Kid. 24/7 Spies, Rebelmatic, Ake, Deadshot, and Fulano at the Bowery Electric on September 14th. And we will be out in San Francisco playing with GBH as part of Crash Festival on Saturday, October 18th. So there's lots going on. Want to thank our latest patron, Shannon Mulligan. Thank you for getting on board and supporting the show. All you other bums, feel free to join, be a patron on Patreon and support this show. That said, any questions that you may have for our guest, Director Don Capria, regarding to his film Director's Cut, or even being a filmmaker in general, please post up. Please post them up. Oh, got to mention a couple. Hey, we have a new sponsor, by the way. Candle Witch Company, who has sent me all this really cool candle stuff. Candle Witch Co. is a female-owned entrepreneur business based out of Connecticut. Owner Rachel King Keys handcrafts soy wax candles set with intentions for your sanctuaries. She has also accomplished the life goal dream since beauty school, debuting her artist showcase Hotties and Aliens that features live bands, burlesque, sideshow acts, vendors, food trucks, and this year, a live auction with all proceeds going to the mental health program. Punk rock saves lives. Catch her in the tri-state area doing her thing, slinging candles at events. Keep an eye out for her show coming to New York in the spring of 2026. You can find her on Etsy, on Instagram at Candle Witch Co. How about Mad Vintage? Mad Vintage buys, sells, and collects band shirts, primarily hardcore. The DIY operation was started and is operated by a hardcore kid who just loves collecting and eventually got into vintage clothing, specifically the realm of vintage band shirts. They're always looking to buy out collections to either keep, sell, or trade new shirts out of daily at www.madvintage.com and post it on Instagram. Dig deep into that closet of crap and reach out to them. Help me help you, Mad Vintage. That said, post up your questions. Now is the time. Go for it. Let's bring our guest back on, Director Don Capria.
Yeah. I'm a director. I have a slate behind me.
There you go. Are you doing any music stuff these days? Are you playing any music these days?
No, I wish, man. I really do. But I did go in the studio to help push. Danny's involved in the soundtrack with me as well. So we have a band called Misery from New Jersey, a metal band that just released the first song off the soundtrack called Casey. And they have a music video for that following up. That's coming out in a few weeks. Slay Squad, this band out of Los Angeles, is on the soundtrack. Take the Name, Parallels from New Jersey. Danny Diablo will be on the soundtrack. So we had a bunch of people to put the soundtrack together, which we're just going to be releasing songs like every month until it hits streamers, and then we'll probably release a full length for people to check that out. So the music stuff for me, man, I love music and I love playing the drums and I miss it dearly. But there's just no way. I don't have the time as of now to dedicate to playing.
Sure. Yeah.
You got to make time, you got to make time. That means you got to remove time from something else,
Like I mentioned before, I miss being a filmmaker. I mean, I have some film stuff going on, but this show has just become, for me, like you said, it is my focus. It's my love. It's my passion, and it's connecting with so many great people like yourself. I just love, and like you said, in order to make a film, I wouldn't be able to do this as much. And this is kind of.
Oh, you need the break. Yeah, you need to take the big break from that. Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard juggling art because, you have to be invested in what's right in front of you,
I got one for you, bro.
Yeah.
Jonathan Busky asks, give me a good espresso martini recipe.
No. So I do make espresso martinis, Mr. Busky. And I bought this drink. It's called I think Godiva makes it, and it's like a chocolate liqueur. So you're mixing 2 parts vodka, a little bit of Kahlua, and then a little bit of this chocolate liqueur. Throw that into the shaker, a lot of ice, because that's how you're gonna get your foam. Just shaking the shit out of that bitch. And then you pour it up, you're gonna have a beautiful tasting with a little hint of chocolate. Yeah.
There you go, Mr. Busky. Sorry if it's been answered, but what's the record award behind you, Dom?
No, not answered. So in my management days, I was blessed enough to work with an artist who went platinum in like 10 different countries. This is the platinum record from the United States. His name's Darwin. He's from Brooklyn, and he was in the electro pop world. And we got this award without having terrestrial radio. So it meant a lot to me because we were selling records via digital marketing online, and it was a lot of work. We were on a major label, but we were kind of punk rock still because we were left to do a lot of the work on our own. So I keep this one behind me because that journey in 2014 with him for that record was really, it meant a lot to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. AK Ray, Donnie, my daughter said she would pay to be an extra in the part 2.
Is she rich, Ray? Is she rich? That would be great. That would be great, man.
People love your film, man. What are some of Don's favorite horror movies?
Yeah, my all-time favorite, I'm a huge John Carpenter fan, and Halloween was just the movie that just, I thought it was a perfect film. I still do think it's a perfect film. I think he really redefined the slasher genre and in such an amazing way. I do love all of the stuff that came from that era, including what came out of the 70s before that, where, with Leatherface. I think that's one of the scariest intros and films that I've seen. It was terrifying. I remember seeing that film as a young kid. So I love a lot of the stuff in the annals that happened from the 1970s and through the 80s, which became, I do not like a lot of the remakes that are out there, to be honest. I'm not a fan of the Halloween franchise that was done by David Gordon Green. I'm not a fan of what he did with The Exorcist. I'm not a fan of a lot of the reboots, but I'm going to give credit to a franchise film that I loved in recent years, which was The First Omen. So if you haven't seen that, it's a prequel to The Omen, and I just thought the film was fantastic. Beyond that, I think in modern filmmaking, I was a huge fan of The Strangers, which was just probably like 20 years old now. And that's not the reboots. That's the original film that they did. And it's just one of those ones that stuck out. And I also loved Ari Aster's Hereditary. I thought that film was terrifying. One of the greater witch movies out there.
Heggs says, has he seen the Jeepers Creepers series? I dug it. Original story.
Yeah, I like the Jeepers Creepers series.
I don't know it. I do not.
Yeah, it's that's the great original take. I do love a lot of, I watch every horror, so it's not like I shouldn't just name all these large horror films. Like, I'm in the annals. I have the Shudder app, and I'm watching stuff, on Tubi, and I'm trying to see all the old stuff as well. So I also have a little bit of a fascination with found footage horror. So I dig into that as well, because there's such a visceral, real feeling when you're watching this camera, and not just Blair Witch. I'm talking, a lot of the newer stuff that's coming out.
Was Blair Witch, is Blair Witch cited as the first found horror film?
I don't know. I'm not sure if it is.
I'm a big fan of that film, man.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that film too. They did something absolutely amazing with that film. I do. You know what? I want to throw credit to something that was a first, which was Dee Snider's film.
Strangeland.
Strangeland. So, this was the first. It was about internet predator, and it was so advanced at the time that it came out. It was like no one was thinking about doing a film on that kind of stuff. And while it is
1998.
98, yeah, he's doing an internet predator film. I mean, just really advanced thinking and a cool execution. He's in the film. It was really,
and it didn't even make its budget back.
No, it did on DVD, I bet.
Oh yeah,
I bet.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Wikipedia.
Yeah, in the 90s, that was one of the things, was like they could splurge on a film budget, because if it bombed in the theater, they're going to sell it all over on DVD.
Oh, I didn't realize that. What's his name from Robert Englund is in it.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah, really cool piece from back when.
Didn't do that. Francis Sawyer, do you have the Thing theory? I'm not sure what she's
she's referring to John Carpenter's The Thing.
I love that film.
Yeah, that might be my number 2.
Yeah, that's
no, I don't personally have a theory. And I've watched so many interviews with him. hearing different explanations. It's kind of like the Sopranos thing. Another new piece came out for the last one. I like hearing all of the theories.
Yeah.
For me, that movie, it's like another advanced, like that movie is advanced. That is. Did
you enjoy the prequel?
The prequel or the first version of it?
No, there was a prequel that picked up that happened before with the woman in it is the protagonist, and at the end they're chasing the dogs, and it leads into The Thing. I forgot what there was a prequel to The Thing.
To The Thing. I don't know if I actually, believe it or not, I don't know if I saw it.
It's really good, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find what the name of it is. Hold on. I thought it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
I think it was called The Thing also. Is there a prequel to The Thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it directly leads into John Carpenter's The Thing. It butts up. Literally, that film ends when they're in the helicopter chasing the dog.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, I mean that Carpenter film, man, is just it's amazing.
Well, I was looking as we were talking.
And the effects on that film at that time, what they did, amazing.
That was Rick Baker, right?
Rick Baker, yeah.
Yeah. Huh? Well, I'm looking up. Here's the run of John Carpenter. I mean, basically, Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, The Thing, Christine, Starman, Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, that's kind of great.
Yeah,
Prince of Darkness. They Live was a weird one, man.
Well, They Live, I mean, taking the shot on Rowdy Roddy Piper, right? Like this guy didn't do a film. And one of the craziest fight scenes ever in a film, that alleyway, the alleyway scene that those guys go through. But Carpenter, man, yeah, he's advanced. One of the reasons I think I really love John Carpenter so much is because he's a music guy.
Yeah.
So, he was in a band, and Nick Castle, the guy who plays the Shape in the first Halloween film, was a bandmate of his. And he went in and he made the score. He didn't just make the greatest film, but he made the score for the greatest film at the same time. It's like, it's insane how, and on scoring, while we were talking about it quick, I know we're running out of time, but the original guitarist in Concrete Dream, John Kennedy, who I was driving with to Pennsylvania for the music video shoot, and we were driving through this really wooded area before we got to the school, and I'm just like, John, we could be left out here for dead. Like I said it to him in the car, because we were really, it was a creepy moment. John ended up scoring director's cut, which I'm in love with the score. He worked with Noah Marks, my editor, but then he kind of took the reins with a lot of stuff that he wrote and that Noah wrote. And he put together a beautiful score. I know he's putting stuff up on his YouTube channel now, but I thought it was a little bit kismet, full circle, to have the guitarist from that music video that inspired the film to be the guy that scores the film.
Yeah. Did you see the new Nosferatu film?
Yes. Loved it.
I enjoyed it very much.
Loved it. Yeah.
I thought it was very good. I thought it was a lot. There was a lot about that.
Yeah. Everyone's talking about Sinners. Everyone's talking about Sinners. I did not see Sinners yet. That's Ryan Coogler. It's about twins and vampires in the South. I think Prohibition. But that's a movie that it's next on my list to go to the theater and see.
Here's a good question from our good friend Scott Helen, who just played my wedding. What's the process for acquiring music for your films? Is it just through friends and what you like, or is it through a company that finds specific music? Very good question. That finds specific music for you. Good question.
It's both. I think it's both. It was both for me on Director's Cut. The first thing is that the first song you'll hear in Director's Cut is Lamb of God's Memento Mori. And I have a relationship with Randy where I reached out to him and told him I wanted to use the song, but Randy got a business that he's running. So I had to go through the proper channels of his publisher, which was Sony ATV. So I think he's on Sony Music as well. From the label side, you have to get it cleared to use a master on the label side and on the publishing side. So there's two different contracts you have to do. And cost wise, there are publishers that will work with you as an independent film within your budget. So Sony ATV, luckily, I had a relationship with people there from my musical background. So James Armstrong kind of helped me I said, James, I have this song at the end of the film that I need. I cut it to a song by the band Daughter out of England. And I knew the tempo, I knew the mood. And I said to James, can you grab me this song? And this is my budget all in. So, they were actually helpful. Music publishing companies can be very helpful for the process. I think a lot of people look at that like there's this great wall that you can't get behind to acquire the music. I think it's the reverse. I think you call them, you tell them what you're working with, and they want their music in your films.
Some do. Yeah.
Some do.
As long as you're not dealing with Warner Chappell, you're fine.
Well, look, every company is different, right? I know people at Warner Chappell, and I know some good people there and some bad people there. I sound like Trump, but it's also the artists too. Like some artists are just like, nah, my music's worth $1 gazillion, and if you're not going to pay that, but Metallica has said it publicly that like if you're a low budget film and you cover the basic costs, they'll give you a song. Moby, who's very punk rock, he went out and made, I forget the name of the website, but for filmmakers specifically, independent filmmakers, he made a whole website library of music that they could do royalty free for their films.
And I mean, part of the concept with that is you're getting your music out there to young artists. What's the point of boxing these people out? And not getting your music out there and not having it a part of this other art. Some people are very short-sighted, but that's just the nature of the business.
Look, it's each his own. I think that the artist has the right to make the decision of how they want their art placed. But we are in a day and age where the information can be exchanged very rapidly, where maybe an artist says, hey, you know what? I like the idea of being in a movie, but I don't want to be, in a movie where you're like killing kids or,
right.
So we can exchange the information, and we had to share actually the section of the film, with them to show them what it's going to look like placement wise. So, with technology, the approval process is a lot easier now to make it happen.
Absolutely. So that said, what's next for Don Capria and what's next for Director's Cut?
For Director's Cut, the streaming in the fall. Again, you can rent it and you can own it now if you just go to directorscutmovie.com. Producer's Cut is up next, which is going to follow the story and Mr. Director and Babs as they make their way to kill some more people. We didn't talk about Babs, but I urge everyone on this live to go watch that movie and check out an amazing performance by Lucy Hart, because he's not alone. He's got a person that he's working with, Mr. Director, and she's fierce. So I urge everyone to check out the performance there. And then I'm also working, Drew, on the documentary side of the Columbo book. So that's something it's a little bit more of a deep dive, but I'm working on that project as well.
I know that's a project that's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
So,
very much so.
Well, thanks, Don. I always love having you on the show. You're a frequent flyer here, and we'll be in touch and looking forward to following you on your endeavors, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Awesome. Thanks again, Drew, and congratulations to you again.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Well, there you have it. Director Don Capria. Go see Director's Cut. It's a fantastic film. If you like that kind of thing. There's a DVD out of it, I think. The only problem I had with the Thing prequel is that they use CGI instead of practical effects. Yeah, they use CGI. I still liked it. Like, I thought it hung together. The story, I thought it wasn't nowhere near as good as the John Carpenter Thing film, but it didn't suck. And in a world with lots of suck, it didn't. So, that kind of thing. What else? Next up, 1 week from today, Benjamin Howard Smith will be on the show. We're going to get back into talking to some music. And a couple days after that, Freddie Madball. Well, I think the prequel's called The Thing. I think it's also called The Thing. I'm telling you, it's pretty good. It's not bad. Yeah. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. And thanks for playing my wedding, bro. Awesome. You and Samantha were great. Fantastic day. Yeah. God, what was the last, like, I don't watch a lot of really gory films and a lot of violent films. It's not particularly my thing. I did like the new Nosferatu film very much. I really, really thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, so anything else? Anybody have anything else to say for themselves before we throw the flag? Madball's coming. Set it off. Go to the Chris Robots Will Kill show if you're up in the New England area this Saturday. Larry Kelly is hosting it at Bridge 9. And then, of course, our next Barry Electric show is in a couple of weeks. Channel 3, Malavista, Chemical X, Chumhuffer, and Beast from the East. That said, is that right, sinners? Danny, thank you for your gracious gift. For the what? Thank you, Francis. I struggle. Thank you. No, I didn't know everybody was enjoying the show so much. Danny, what's it called? Carl Chuch? I always struggle with the word. What did you send us? A charcuterie board for cheese and for meats? My Italian girlfriend really loved it. My Italian wife. When evil lurks. I don't know that one. Italians say antipasto. Okay, got it, buddy. All right. Huge congratulations on the wedding. Thank you. Yeah, okay, thank you. Charcuterie. Got it. Charcuterie. Also, I gotta book some shows. We gotta book this 400th show. Ooh. Gotta get that done. So that's it. And also, you know what? If you're thinking about buying the London 77 Lost Archive book, get off your ass and buy it. It's available at Generation Records. This thing is a brick. Very proud of it. That said, thanks for stopping by, everybody. We'll see you in a couple. Charcuterie. Hey, you got a charcuterie board? You want to see something crazy? So you're getting married. You do a register, right? So we do a register at Target. My sister's like, you got to do a register. So, all right. Rochelle sets up a register. I get in there and I'm like, we got to add some things to this. So I add a bunch of things. A couple things were like just outrageous, like Hail Mary things, like like an air conditioner. And I put this item on there, like I just threw some things on there thinking, like no one's gonna buy us this. All of a sudden I see it pops up that somebody bought this for us as a gift. This is like an Apple fucking gangster Apple headphones, right? And I already listened to music with these, and it's like, holy shit. I got to shout out a very old friend of mine who I don't see very much anymore. Was like out of the blue, a kid I went to high school with. I was in 10th grade with this kid. I was like, who the hell bought us this? Shouting out Vince Schimmel that I went to 10th grade with. What a treat. Thank you, Vince. That was very, very kind of you. Now I could listen to real good music, good headphones. So that was very nice. And thank you, everybody else. All your kind gifts and all your love really meant a lot to us. It was incredible day that will never live. I know, right? Junior high Vince Schimmel, who works in the music business. So he hooked it up. That was pretty great. Thanks a lot, everybody. Tell your loved ones that you love them. It's very important in this short life that we have. So we'll see you in a couple days. Until then, do good things and good things will come.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes.